Well. Hello out there. Come and join me. Welcome to the first episode of Ask Carrie for Love and Truth. And I am your host, Reverend Carrie, and I am so grateful to be here at such a time as now to speak truth and in love to you. Come and join on and listen to what I have to say because I am just doing this podcast because the Lord told me to do it. I believe He's rising up voices for such a time as now. And I am hoping that you will really enjoy the show. If you don't know me, I am a counselor and I've been helping people since 2009. I've been in counseling in an array of different places. I am a reverend. I am a mom of two beautiful daughters, and I'm married to an amazing husband, Derek, and hopefully he will be on this show and he will give some wisdom as well. I plan on having a lot of guests and wisdom and other people on the show as well. So welcome to Ask Carrie. I'm so excited that you're here. I have a lot of stories to share with you. I have a lot of hope to bring to you. And I want to let you know something. This podcast was birthed for the desire to speak love and truth in a hurting world where many people are searching for answers. Many people are so broken, so hurt, so angry, and I am just here to encourage you. I'm hoping that my voice will encourage you when you're driving to work, encourage you when you're driving home from work. I want to be that encouragement for you. So I'm excited to be here, and I think you're really going to love this podcast. And I have a great topic for you today, and I just want you to listen to this. So, I want to speak to you about a very important subject. A very important subject. I'm sorry about that. A very important subject. And today it's about forgiveness. Forgiveness. And I want to talk to you about this forgiveness because it's so important. If you notice that this world is just full of bitterness, just feel of okay, hold on. I just got to just full of bitterness, just full of people's hearts being very cold. And I want to speak about that today. If you noticed recently, we had a big event. Charlie Kirk's wife was on, and she did the impossible. I want to share that with you. Charlie Kirk's wife forgave her husband of the most impossible thing, murdering her husband, the father of her kids. And if you're like me, you know that once she released that forgiveness, something totally shifted because it was like, how could she forgive? And something shifted, and people's eyes were crying. And I want to talk to you about that today because forgiveness is really important. And the reason why I want to talk to you about it is because some people don't understand what forgiveness is. Some people just don't get it. Like, for an example, I had a client the other day who said, I go to church and I hear them say, forgive trespasses as they forgive us. But she said, I don't even really understand what forgiveness is. So I thought I would take the time today to share with you what forgiveness is and what forgiveness isn't. Because I believe if we understood this, more demonic strongholds would tear down in this world. We are supposed to bring heaven down to earth. And one of the biggest ways we can do that is to understand forgiveness and the power of forgiving. That's why I think it's so important now to do this. Because when Erica Kirk released that over millions of people to watch, that she forgave her husband, it brought truth to the nation. And it brought truth of understanding who God is, what it means to be a Christian. So first, I want to explain to you what forgiveness is. And I'm going to kind of just do a visual for you to explain it. And you can read it more in Matthew 18. And Jesus kind of tells his disciple, because Peter's like, how many times do I need to forgive? 7 times, 77 times. And Jesus kind of says this is my own paraphrase. The kingdom of heaven is like this. Imagine that you owed $2 million to the king. And at the time of the land, if you could not pay back every penny of that $2 million, they had the right to throw you in prison forever, along with your children. So the man goes up to the king and he says, hey, and he's shaking because he knows that he cannot pay back that $2 million. And the king says to him, on this day, you are forgiven. You owe me nothing. Well, you know where I'm going with this, right? So he's so relieved that he owes nothing, that this king paid off all of his debt. And then he goes out onto the street and he finds someone that owes him $2. And the same man that was forgiven of a $2 million debt grabs this guy by the neck and says, I demand that you pay me $2, and throws him in prison. The king gets a hold of the news, sends him back up, and can't believe what he just did. How could you do that when I just forgave you of this big debt? Well, I'm paraphrasing what it means to be forgiven by God. As a Christian, we are forgiven by Jesus. We owed him a lot, and he paid our debt. So real forgiveness is first understanding that we are forgiven. And so who are we to hold grudges against someone or someone that owes us something and demand that they pay us back, right? This is really important stuff because we have to understand this if we're going to change this country, if we're going to rise up Christians and voices, if we're going to be the voice of truth and love. So what does real forgiveness mean and what does it not mean? This is the first episode of Ask Carrie, by the way. For those of you who are listening, this is my very first episode of speaking love and truth to a hurting world, an authentic hurting world that they want real truth. Ask your questions here. Comment, let me know that you are here. So we just told the story of the king releasing this person of owing $2 million. But some of us in our heart hold grudges and we hold on to things. And actually, forgiveness not only affects our soul, it can affect our body. It can cause sicknesses because we were not meant to hold grudges, and we were not meant to be bitter, and we were not meant to be angry all the time. But if you look at the world, and I know a lot of you do this, you scroll, right? You're scrolling. Doesn't everybody seem so angry? Everyone seems so bitter and cold. Well, forgiveness is a tool of the kingdom of God. Bitterness is a tool of the evil one. We need to get this. This is the most important one, forgiveness. Forgiveness will demolish demonic strongholds. In fact, did you know in Ephesians chapter 6 what it says? It says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of this dark world, and against the spiritual wickednesses in high places. So if you really grasp that, if we're not fighting against flesh and blood, but principalities, we must understand that this is a spiritual war. And many people are broken, many people are hurting. And so we have to understand that even when Erica Kirk just laid down, I forgive him, it shifted the atmosphere. She brought heaven down in that moment, that she forgave the most unforgivable. And I know that some of you have been really hurt and still really need to forgive. And some of us don't even realize that we still have to forgive. So I want to take the time to teach you about forgiveness. I hope that's okay. I took some time to teach you today. I first want to show you that the first step of forgiveness is understanding that an offense has been committed. What do you mean? Well, sometimes people are really like, I've forgiven them. It's the past and I don't care. But when we really dig in deep, we recognize that a lot of us have been really robbed of our security, robbed of our childhood, robbed in many different ways. Well, we know that Satan came to steal, kill, and destroy. So when we are robbed, we know that that's not God. So the very first thing of forgiveness is understanding that an offense has been committed, that we have been hurt. That's the first part. So I don't know, a lot of us have to forgive, right? I have to forgive almost daily. So understanding that you've been robbed is the first step. Understanding how maybe your spouse hurt you, or your friend hurt you, or someone in church hurt you, or your pastor hurt you, or your parents hurt you. First, just say, Lord, God, why am I so mad? Sometimes you just don't know. So that's the very first step. And again, I'm telling you this because we often say in the Bible, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive others, but we just say these things and we don't understand the power of forgiveness. And this is why it's so important that we understand the power of forgiveness, because it's going to change the country and the nation and our families. It's really powerful to understand what forgiveness is, because forgiveness is the whole point that we are Christians. And those of you who are new to Christianity, welcome, because here we are, understanding that Christ died for us on the cross and that we forgive others just like he has forgiven us is the most beautiful part about being a Christian. And that we should be operating in differently than the world. We operate very differently. Our tools are hope and love and forgiveness, and Satan's tools are bitterness and grudges and anger. So again, forgiveness is saying that something has been robbed from you. And if you are here, thank you. Please comment and let us know that you are here. The second part of forgiveness this is really good, is letting go of the expectation that somebody's going to come back to you and say that they're sorry, because that might not ever happen. And sometimes we just, if you're anything like me or anybody else, the truth is we go over and over again, only if they would just apologize and only if they would know how much they hurt us. Well, they might not ever know. And that's where you have to trust God as your defender and as your vindicator. That's when you really got to hone into God's character and say, hey, listen, I'm just going to let go of the expectation that he might not ever know that he hurt me. That's a hard one, right? But you have to trust God that he's your vindicator. He's your defender. So you're kind of just taking it off your coat hook and putting it on God's coat hook, and you're releasing those expectations. You're saying, I'm not going to wait until they say, I'm sorry, or realize how much they hurt me. In fact, some of us, and this is how the enemy works, we just go over in our head all day long and we just start to get bitter. And we start to get cold, and we start to get guarded, and we start to just not like living. It just affects us in every single way. That's what the enemy wants. He wants you to go over and over in your head. But real forgiveness is just letting go of that expectation. And those of you who just joined us, welcome. This is Ask Carrie for Love and Truth. And I want to take your questions at the end of each episode, because I'm here to give my time to help people. I love helping people. I love my country. I love being married. I love my girls. I love having chickens. And I am here to be an encouragement. And I believe that God is raising up voices definitely in this hour. I believe he really wants to raise voices of truth and voices of love. And I am not ashamed to speak truth, and I'm not ashamed to do it in love. So if you hear, this is your podcast, because we're going to speak all about that. So the next one is forgiveness is releasing it to God completely, that you don't take it back, that you do not take that back and release it. Forgiveness will remove the pain. It won't remove the memory, but it will remove the pain. For an example, I have my own story. This worship song would come on, and it would really remind me of some people at church that hurt me, and I would cry. And I asked the Lord to forgive them, and I forgave them. And that worship song comes on all the time. And now I'm able to listen to that song with glory and power and honor and in love. So forgiveness removes the pain of the memory. So this is how great forgiveness is, right? God has forgiveness for us. And we need to hear this message for everyone that's out there in the nation, the nation needs to know about forgiveness. And that's so much the first part of any healing or any deliverance. Actually, we know that unforgiveness is the most legal right that the enemy has on Christians because God said in his word, if you do not forgive, I will not forgive you. That's a really tough one to hear, but that's how the enemy will get us. Unforgiveness will, and that's why I said it again, and I'm going to say it. When Erica Kirk said, I forgive the killer of my husband, it released nations of healing to all of us because she was fighting against principalities. We're fighting against the darkness and principalities of this world. So forgiveness is removing the right for the enemy to oppress you. I mean, look at all the benefits here of forgiveness. I want to talk to you something about forgiveness versus trust because oftentimes people will say, well, I'm not going to forgive. I don't want anything to do with that person. So I want to clarify. Look, at this is free counseling. Okay. People come in and they pay me money for what I'm teaching you. Forgiveness and trust is completely different. Forgiveness is a choice. Trust is something that somebody has to earn. So, for an example, you can forgive your husband for hurting you, but you don't have to trust him right away. You have to repair that. Or you could forgive somebody that's hurt you, but it doesn't mean you trust them. They have to earn that trust. So, forgiveness and trust are two different things. And if you are here listening, please encourage me. This is my first episode so that I can do more of these every Wednesday. Okay. So I want to get this clear for you that forgiveness is not removing the proper boundaries so that you're hurt again. Forgiveness is for our benefit so that we are healed and that our hearts are healed. Forgiveness means that I'm going to let God do this. I'm not going to hold on to this. Freedom feels so good. Amen. Freedom feels so good. And I feel really bad for all the people that are bound in anger out there and bound in bitterness and bound in racism. Okay. Even in racism, if you feel that everyone has been treated poorly, then forgive. Forgive, right? Forgive them. We need to forgive because nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect. Okay. We all have our stuff, all of us. And we need to learn how to love and we need to learn how to walk in truth. So forgiveness is not removing those proper boundaries. And forgiveness is not an option if you're a Christian. It's not an option. Yes, forgiveness can be a journey. We can forgive someone today, but tomorrow something else might come up where we need to forgive again. So we need to walk in the atmosphere of forgiveness because every day is an invitation for us to be offended or hurt. Every single day we have an invitation to either get offended or to get hurt, right? I mean, this world is just bound by the enemy right now. Even God says that, the prince of this world is the one ruling the airwaves, but we as Christians can bring heaven down, right? We can bring the love and truth down and change and bring heaven here where atmosphere changes really. We can change the atmosphere. And that's a hard thing to do, to forgive people who hurt us. Okay. So honestly, guys, I want to tell you something. I have been in prayer about this podcast. I really have. In fact, I didn't really want to do a podcast because I know everyone is doing a podcast, but God, out of obedience, said, no, I want your voice of love and truth to be out there. All right. And one time, Brenda Price asked me to go on Star 99.1, and there was a radio station, and we had a show called Ask Carrie. And it was really good because people would ask questions, and Brenda and I would navigate through the questions every day. Every day we would have Ask Carrie. So I'm bringing this back, and hopefully, Brenda, if you're listening, you can come on the show one day because I really want to help people out there. I want to help people understand real love, genuine truth. And so that's why I'm here, because we're going to talk about many things that weigh on our hearts with this podcast: marriages, like relationships, spiritual warfare, my favorite. We're going to have a really great guest. In fact, next week I have an amazing girl coming on. She has just been a disciple of Christ, and she's going to tell us about her journey of walking with the Lord. Also, this podcast is really for those who are really getting to know Jesus and really starting to walk in faith. I'm really here to help you navigate through all of this stuff. So, going back to forgiveness, what it is and what it is not. Listen to this. Unforgiveness leads to strongholds of bitterness and bondages of darkness. Yes, it starts with a thought of unforgiveness. I'm holding a grudge. They owe me. I'm going to get them back. That's how murders happen. That's how violence happens. They owe me. I'm angry, right? It's good. Anger, we can talk about that another day because anger tells us something is wrong. But when we are sleeping on anger over and over again, oh boy, and unforgiveness, boy, listen, we'll talk about this, but I'm a child of trauma. I mean, I have seen evil firsthand as a 7-year-old little girl when there was a murder in my own apartment. And we can talk about that. So I'm extremely passionate about this subject because unforgiveness can lead to very demonic strongholds of bondage and darkness. And the world needs to understand that. Anytime there's someone who's violent or wanting to shoot us, it's because they feel we owe them something and they have not forgiven and they don't know they have been forgiven by Christ. So this is deliverance 101 is forgiveness, right? This is what we really need to understand. And I am just so excited. I'm going to see if there's any comments yet. If you are here listening or watching, I would love to hear from you and to ask questions. That would be really great. So, forgiveness is something that we have to start with when we're speaking about love and when we're speaking about truth. This is extremely important to do that. And I understand it can be difficult, but when you really understand how much you have been forgiven by God and how we owed Him so much, and that He has forgiven us, who are we to hold grudges against people? Yes, we're going to get hurt, right? There's a lot of broken people out there, a lot of hurting people. They're going to hurt us. People are going to hurt us. That's just the reality. People are going to reject us, but it's what we do with it which matters the most. It's about love and understanding God's perfect love. By the way, I have a ministry called Revelation Perfect Love. You can check that out on YouTube. And it is a counseling, teaching, and deliverance ministry. And we raise funds so that people who really need counseling can get it without having that financial hardship. So I want to hear from you. Like, what's going on in your heart right now? Are you thinking about someone you still need to forgive? I can tell you, the client that I was talking to the other day, when I really explained forgiveness to her, she was like in tears. She didn't understand what forgiveness really was and what it really meant. And when you really break it down, you're going to get free. And there's nothing more freeing than forgiving those people who hurt you. And then you have to be really careful because demons will just feed on the spirit of unforgiveness. Oh gosh. They will hold grudges. Oh my goodness. I don't know about you, but I don't have time for that. Relationships will really prepare. I mean, if you're married, I know I'm married. I can't wait for my husband to come on the show one day. But how many times do we have to forgive our spouses throughout the week, right? We just got to, Lord, I forgive him for, because every day is an invitation to get offended or hurt. That's the truth. We don't want to operate out of bitterness. We don't want to operate out of striving or out of you owe me something, right? We're not going to change the world by complaining and excuse my language, bitchin about everything, right? What is that going to do? It's negative. No, it doesn't change anything. No atmospheres are changing. Your heart's not changing by complaining. Your heart's not changing. If you feel something's unjust, then take some action, but do it out of a heart of God, not of a heart of bitterness, because that's a fruit of the devil. See, there's two kingdoms. There's the kingdom of God and the kingdom of the enemy. And the kingdom of the enemy, Lucifer, Satan, bitterness, hate, racism, unforgiveness, that all creates a serious demonic stronghold. And I'll just say this again. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but we wrestle against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the dark world, against spiritual wickets in the high place. Do you really understand that? What do you think is going on in the world right now? Because when I watch it, all I see is the enemy just making everybody a puppet against each other with hate, bitterness, cold hearts. Is he just orchestrating division? But see, as Christians, we need to be different. This generation is looking for the authentic Jesus Christ, the authentic power and love of Jesus. We need to show that. And it doesn't mean we're weak. No, we stand up for the truth. We do. We stand up for the truth. It doesn't mean we're weak. It's a heart posture when you look at people. It's a way we live as Christians. We see beyond the flesh and we see the spirits working in their hearts. We see the anger and the bitterness. And we know that it's not them working, but it's the hurt, the offense that happened that wasn't resolved. And then it created a stronghold. And I don't know about you, but there is a lot of demonized people out there right now. There's a lot of demonized people. And that's the truth. But we have the power of the army of God to go out there with the spiritual tools of love and honor and forgiveness. So I would say it starts by understanding you need to forgive and accepting the reality of your situation. Okay? That you let go of those expectations and you let go of those I'm waiting for him or her to say I'm sorry. Maybe one day it would happen, but maybe one day it won't. But I am encouraging you to understand the beauty of being a Christian on how much God has forgiven you. He had to bring his only son to be completely crucified, murdered, spit on, whipped, totally brutally murdered to pay for our debt. It's the most beautiful act of love. Jesus. So I'm encouraging you today that you would let go of somebody who was hurting you, somebody that you people are going to heart every day and think about how much you. It's time for you to let it go. You have to understand unforgiveness will not help the situation. And I'm telling you, and I'll tell you more stories about this, but when I was young, I saw all this evil play to the point of a murder. This is what I'm trying to tell you today. It's a demonic stronghold that's in the nation. And that's why I was trying to tell you when Erica Kirk forgave her husband's killer, it shifted the atmosphere. It went against a principality, a demonic principality of bitterness and racism and all this stuff. Oh Lord, we got to fight back, don't we? We got to fight back spiritually. We got to stand up in truth and in boldness in this hour. We have to understand that we are the ones who bring heaven down to earth. We do. We are the ones that change the atmosphere. Forget about this religious stuff, and we'll talk about that another time. Forget about all the religion, the man-made religion. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about an encounter with the one who's perfect, Jesus. Jesus. Guys, he's coming back. And he's coming back for a spotless bride, Jesus. And I want you to be spotless and me to be spotless. I want you to forgive someone right now that you really need to forgive. And just confess that you have been harboring bitterness and maybe harboring ill will towards this person, and that you are going to forgive. You're going to choose to forgive. Thank you, Sarah, so much. My beautiful Sarah said, here's the question for Ask Carrie. And these are the questions that I am definitely going to have people ask me. So Sarah says, let me just say it. Hi, Carrie. How do you keep forgiving someone who doesn't change their behaviors or of gossip in particular? right? In Matthew 18, Peter said the same thing. He said, Jesus, how many times do I have to forgive this person? Isn't there like a limit? Isn't there like a limit? Like, is 77 times like enough? And Jesus is like, nope, there's no number you can put on it. So forgiving someone is you saying, Lord, I forgive them, and pray for them. And then ask God for wisdom for the situation, what you need to do, what you might need to speak or say to cut this demonic spirit of gossip off. Go to God and say, I forgive them. So many times I have to like picture myself with, I sometimes I just picture like a glass window between me and the person. I just put all their junk on the other side of the window. And I say, God, that's their junk. They can do, God, you deal with it. It's not mine to deal with, right? It is not mine to deal with. And so you just say, that's their junk to deal with. I'm not going to take it on as my own. I forgive them. And but God, I need wisdom here because you don't want to just do anything because we're not weak. We're bold. We want to speak truth. We want to stop it. But since we're carriers of the kingdom of the Lord, since we're carriers of honor, since we're carriers of heaven, we bring the wisdom of heaven down. What caused this girl to gossip? What's wrong with her? Why is she hurting? It's probably what my best question that I ask clients. What happened to this person? Why is she so bitter? Or he's so upset? Why is he so angry? Why is she so angry? Ask yourself that, Sarah. Why is she so upset? What's going on with her? Right? Yeah, gossip is evil, but she picked it up thinking it's going to work, right? People pick up things thinking that it's going to work. So she thinks if she gossips, maybe somebody, then she'll actually, somebody will look down on someone else and then someone will look up with herself. Like really gossip is a root of jealousy. Gossip is a root of, jealousy. Like I don't feel good about myself. I have nothing to offer. So what I'll do is I'll gossip and I'll gossip about someone else to make them look less than me because I really don't feel good about myself. So you always ask yourself the question, what's going on in their heart? So you can really see the wisdom of God in that and begin to say, you know what, this girl really, sometimes, Sarah, I'll just talk to you and whoever's listening, God puts us on assignments oftentimes in our workplace or wherever we're going. You know, the mission field isn't just the church. The mission field is every single day. Okay. Look around. Every morning you wake up, say, Lord, I'm your vessel today. Today is a mission field. We are in a spiritual war. Today we're on a mission from God. And God is really, really positioning people at such a time as this. He's positioning people in the workplaces, in the marketplace. He's positioning people everywhere because he loves us so much and he's so passionate about winning people over to the kingdom of God. So that's an assignment for you, Miss Sarah. I hope you like that. I think you got this. Would love to hear any more questions that you might have for me in regards to this. So oftentimes that forgiveness can be so embedded in someone, it becomes a part of their life. Oh man, I've seen people in such bondage for years when they didn't have to be. Think about that. You don't even have to be in bondage for years. Think about the freedom you're missing. Gosh. It's really, really something that needs to be talked about more and more because we are in that spiritual war. We are in that spiritual war. So I really thank you so much for that comment. And I really want you to message me. Let me go ahead and just put my email address and you can ask me questions, ask Carrie, and I would love to address them. Next week, I definitely have a nice, amazing girl. Her name is Grace. She's going to come on. You're just going to love her. She is just amazing. So any questions that you might have, please go ahead and email me. To be honest, I'm not here to gain new clients. I would love to be your counselor, but I'm here because I'm obedient to the Lord, and he asked me to be a voice so that we can bring his heart back into conversations, back into the world. We want to bring his heart back into the world. So again, Forgiveness means you're releasing any expectations and you're letting that go of God and realizing that you yourself needed to be forgiven of so much. That really helps when you get that. In fact, I have another great story about that. I have somebody who's going to come on and talk about that too, because um, there's a lot of freedom that happens in counseling when forgiveness is talked about. So if you want to know about my own life, I had to forgive so much. I had to forgive. I had to forgive a lot. Ooh, freedom feels so good. You know, it's amazing that the Lord even asked me to do this. Before I did this, I was a bartender. I was a bartender for 10 years. I could probably still make any drink you like. And I was so ignorant. I can't even believe I was very ignorant. I didn't know. God made me so wise. God healed me. Walking with Jesus is amazing. It's really amazing. He can take any life and use you. So, wherever you're at right now, just ask God, is there somebody that I need to forgive? And it's yourself. Maybe you need to forgive yourself because that also brings a lot of freedom. So, again, my name is Reverend Carrie. I am the host of Ask Carrie for Love and Truth. This is my very first episode. And at first, my husband was making some noise in the kitchen over there. And so, sorry for being distracted. But I really love speaking truth. I hope this encouraged you. If it has, please comment, please share this. And thank you so much for watching. God bless you. And this is Love and Truth. Ask Carrie. God bless.